Hey, good morning. It's Ed here with EAPQs. Take two on this video. I hit the wrong button last time as I was recording and ended the video, so trying not to have to splice them together. We can prevent it. Anyway, Chris and I were talking, we need to put a couple more videos up. I told him a couple I'm going to be doing. One is going to be doing installing a linen wrap, and the other one is going to be threading a tenon for a ferrule. And I'm always trying to think, what can we do? And Chris is like, oh, there's a million things to do. He's way more creative on this than I am. And I was walking into the garage this morning, and I kind of had an epiphany. And what it was is over dust collection. And I guess what kind of sparked it, when I walk outside, I still see all the green and white pipe that I recently installed last 2 weekends ago. And I thought, hey, you know what? He just did a video on, the matrices of the shaft and what makes them play well, what makes them not play well, not necessarily how to construct one. And I thought, well, why don't we do something on dust collection, because it's important in the shop where we're at. And dust collection overall is just important. It's something we need to have. We don't need to be breathing this dust. A lot of it is toxic for us. While there's some, Q Builder's been out there for a long time, just working with a shop vacuum and it's worked well for them, that's fine. I'll say the same thing. Somebody can smoke for 50 years and never have a problem. Somebody can smoke for 5 years and come up with lung or throat cancer. It affects people differently. So my suggestion is be on the safe side and try to get some of this dust extracted. Now, I've had the dust collector for 4 or 5 years. I've moved into this house about 3 years ago. I bought it prior to moving into the house. So I say around 4 or 5 years. And I've had it hooked up in here with just a single hose going to my CNC machine, and that was it. And that was only over the last year's time that I did it. So before that, I was basically masking up, using a shop vac, that sort of stuff. But now that I have my dust collection system in, I'm like, wow, how did I ever not have this in? It's just so much better for me. So it's taken me a few years to get where I'm at. It's not a cheap process. Having it outside definitely helps. I was also able to move my big air compressor outside. My brother-in-law, kudos to him, came over and helped me do all this, and he's like, we got to move the air compressor. While we're doing all this, let's move the air compressor. And I wanted to, it's just a damn thing so big and heavy. But we did it, we got it outside, and it's so much nicer when it comes on. I can still be on the phone, you don't hear it running. Chris even called me that day when it was running, and I said, did you hear it? He goes, I don't hear anything. So that was good, that was a good test. But inside the garage, it was really loud before. So, again, what I want to do is walk you through some of the processes I went through, the pipes I used, some of the fittings I used, why I used the pipes, and how I did my collection system. And there's many ways. I asked lots of questions. I had made some, a post on new Q Builders at one point to find out, who was doing what. John contacted John from Q's directly and asked him how he had his system. Trying to figure out what size pipe I wanted to use. Some people said 4-inch, some people said 6-inch. Well, I did both. I went 6 as my main trunk line, branching off with 4-inch, and I'm very, very pleased with it. So, that being said, let me walk you outside, show you a little bit of the system, and then we'll go from there. All right. This is actually the building I put my dust collection in, as you can see. I'm trying to hold this tripod because the last time I did it, I hit one of the buttons, I ended it. But this is a 6-inch line coming off. This extra line back here is just extra. I bought 25 feet of it for like $50. That was really cheap, $2 a foot. It's normally somewhere between $4 and $6 a foot. So I've got my 6-inch line coming up. It goes through this building and into my garage. As you can see, I've got my big air compressor. It's an 80-gallon out here. Again, when this thing cranks up, it's pretty darn loud. This is my Grizzly 1.5 horsepower dust collector. It works well. Surprisingly, it works well. I'm actually very pleased with how it's doing so far, and I'll show you real quick. And this is kind of the building that I put it all in. Okay, That's how I did it. I poured the concrete slab. I put this building up just for the dust collection. Pause. All right, so as you can see, this is where the old door used to be. I took the door off. Didn't want to really drill a hole through it. Put up some plywood. And I ran my pipe through it. Now what I've got here is I've got my main line, which is a 6-inch line coming across, and then I branched off with my 4-inch. Now these fittings in the pipe are actually considered SD, which is sewer and drain. They are different than the DWV, which is drain, water, vent. They're different in size, and these are a little thinner and a little lighter, and they cost quite a bit less. Some of these fittings in the DWV were, you know, 60, 80, 100 bucks, and here they were a little bit less money, which is nice. So what I did here is I branched off, and I've got myself just a 2-inch line for now. Eventually I'm going to do something down to my lathe, but I just branched off for my 2-inch line. It works well just to have something I can pick up some of the dust. I don't have to get out the shop vac to do it. And then I'm coming over here, my main 6-inch line. What I did here is I branched off, and again, excuse me, I'm going to try holding the video now. Hopefully I don't hit the wrong button. This is what got me in trouble last time. Maybe I'll learn my lesson. I branched off coming to my CNC machine, okay? This is a blast gate I have right here. So I can open that, come to my CNC machine. This is my connector for my CNC machine. Some of you ever watched some of my other stuff on Facebook, I showed it. It's just on a magnet, and it just swings over and it connects right to the side of my machine. It works really well for collecting that dust. And then I have myself just a drop right here. It's not dedicated for anything, but what I did is, these are really cool. These are magnetic connectors. These came from Woodcrafters, and they just connect right in, so I can go to my planer. I can easily come over here and go to my drum sander. If I'm working with my bandsaw here, I just got it rolled out into the table. I can easily connect to it, and or I got the same thing if I want to come over here to my joiner, which you get, I think you get the idea behind how it's working. But if I wanted to come over to my joiner, I can actually just go right to my joiner. So it works really well. And again, I've got a blast gate here. Open, close, you know. And then I continued on with my 6-inch pipe all the way around and over to my sanding and finishing station. Now these hangers I bought from a company, I believe they're called Wheelhouse, and they're 6-inch and 4-inch hangers. They work really well, and believe it or not, they were cheap. I bought all of them for about 100 bucks, and I had some left over, and they worked really well, nice and sturdy, where you could hang the pipe from, and I think it made it look really clean. And anyway, came down here. Had to kind of come up with a little bit of a configuration to attach this pipe, you know. So we found these copper straps for plumbing, and they worked well. We just used them as straps, and I come down, and then I come over here to my sanding and finishing station. So yeah, it's a little bit messy, but it's an old station. I used to use this as a lathe, and I turned it into a station when I got my CNC machine because it's just way more accurate. But that's the basics. I'm going to show you here in a minute how I turn it on, which is pretty simple. This little lanyard right here hanging up, and you're going to get a little noisy. I just hit the button. That's actually, I have my blast gates opened over here right now, and that's sucking stuff in. Now what I'm going to try, and I have not tried this, you know, and people don't think they will extract the fumes and stuff enough. I say they will. And I am going to set something on fire, I guess. That's the way I can say it. I'm going to see if it works or not. So give me just a moment. I want to set something up here, and then I'm going to try to see how much smoke it actually pulls into these vents. Hopefully it doesn't pull in any fire and I burn my house down. But let me see how it works. I'm going to put it on pause and we'll be right back. All right, so let's see what happens here. I would say that's working pretty good. So what I actually did is I put a little bit of oil on that piece of paper towel. I hadn't actually tried this before, but I did put a little bit of oil on that piece of paper towel just to see. And you can see it was actually taking the smoke and pulling it right in there. You can see the flame, you can see the smoke, everything. So if it's doing that there, it's taking any fumes that you have coming off the CA glue or fine sanding, and it pulls it in just as well. I could actually see the sanding dust as it gets pulled into there. When I'm sanding. So it works well. I'm pretty happy with that. I know, a little dangerous trying to set my house on fire, but it was a good example, I think, just to show you what it's doing. And like I said, when I'm finishing with the CA glue and what, I'm just not getting those fumes that I used to get, which helps out a lot. Pause. All right, so that's some of the basics, and again, that's some of the basics what we have. And then what did I do? Maybe I can talk about the construction real quick of these. What I did when I put the joints together, you can see that screw right there. I screwed everything, 2 to 3 screws on each fitting, okay? You'll see that here, same thing. And this way, nothing is glued. If I want to take it back apart, I can, and then I wrapped it with that rubberized silicone tape, and I'll show that to you here in just a second, because I actually bought that on Amazon, and it comes in a roll, and it's, you know, about 100-foot long roll, and it's really rubberized. It's pretty cool stuff. You can see it. It's tough. I mean, you can pull the hell out of it, and you got to actually cut it and then wrap it around the joints just to keep any extra, you know, vacuum loss from occurring, because nothing is glued. And then here's some of your basic fittings. You know, here's a 4 to 2 inch reducer, okay? And like I said earlier, I went with certain pipe for a reason, and if you go with this SD pipe, one of the things that is really good about it, this stuff fits inside that SD pipe perfect. See that? I mean, perfect. So that when you do it, you put a couple screws in it, you wrap it with the tape, you have no problem with it. And that's for all these type of fittings. Even the blast gates, see that? They fit in really nice. Really too nice, I think. And you can see they fit in well. And even these connectors here fit in if I needed them to. So everything fit in really well. You know, these connectors, they actually went on to a rubber connector and or the hose. But I'm just showing you all these type of connectors fit into this green SD pipe. And let's see, yeah, it just says sewer pipe, but a sewer drain. And you can buy some of this stuff, some of the Lowe's carries it. I didn't see that Home Depot in my area did, but Lowe's had a pretty good assortment of the fittings. I had a plumbing supply down the road from where I worked. I bought the 6 inch, but Lowe's even carried some of that because I had to go get another piece, because I wound up having to run quite a bit of the 6 inch. And so I wound up going and getting that. And like I said, it worked out well. It really did. So that's kind of it for my dust collection. Again, it's important. Take time to hook something up if you haven't and you can, or you've been thinking about it. You know, buy a little bit of the stuff at a time. I know it's expensive. Like I said, for this setup, I've got a couple $1,000s wrapped up in it. I really do. Between the building and, you know, all the dust collection and the piping and the fittings and so forth. But, you know, compared to my health, my daughter's health, you know, it's still dust. She comes out here when I'm working sometimes. So I want to make sure we're being protected. But I think it's a good investment long term, and it makes it a lot nicer in the shop. And it's amazing how much room I freed up in my shop by getting the dust collector and the air compressor outside. Okay, so again, thanks for watching our videos. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe. We're getting a good amount of subscribers. We need more. We're getting near that 500 mark is what will help us out even a little bit further along. But if you have questions, ask them. We'll get to them. I try to answer the questions as fast as I can. Chris will remind me when I have something in there I need to answer. Just simply because I'm, again, full-time job, raising my daughter, 50% of the time, trying to do this. It's, a full schedule plus have a little bit of a life. But again, thanks for watching. If you have questions, let us know, and we'll try to put any links or answer them as best we can. All right, thank you.